Hi everybody, my name is Alex, and for my ethnography I read Mama Lola, a Voodoo Priestess in Brooklyn by Karen McCarthy Brown. The book is a little unusual in that it focuses on a single subject, whereas most ethnographies have like a few key informants, and then they sort of expand that out. This has one, and that's her. But the author, she does do a lot of interesting things with that. She expands it out and she uses various stories about Mama Lola. That's not actually her name. Her name is like Alordes, but I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce that, so I'm just going to keep calling her Mama Lola. And she is a Haitian immigrant and a voodoo priestess. Now, the fact that it's only about one person, and, well, her family, is a little unusual for an ethnography. Most ethnographies employ at least a few key informants, a la, what's her name? I don't have it. Zandunga Genius. Yeah, she had a couple different informants, and then she used surveys, and she used those informants to weigh into the community. But here, she pretty much just goes into this one woman's life. She talks all about how she grew up in Haiti, and eventually immigrated into the United States. And Mama Lola is a voodoo priestess, but voodoo is a very misunderstood religion. It's interesting because a lot of, it turns out, the accoutrement associated with voodoo in popular culture is actually right. They do a lot of that stuff with the spirits, where they take them over and they talk through them, and they do animal ritual sacrifice and things. But basically the whole interpretation is wrong. The idea behind voodoo is it's almost like a form of play acting, where a central issue is considered, kind of like how they would talk to the oracle in Evans Pritchard. They ask the spirits, and the spirits, each one has like a different representative quality. Like there's one, her main spirit, her quote-unquote her husband, is Ugu, the noble warrior. And Ugu, he comes and talks through her, and she takes on his form. And when she does this, it's part of a ritual ceremony where they perform, and they have lots of people come over, and it's usually for like an occasion, like Ugu's birthday, for example. Every year, each spirit has a birthday, and the spirits that they choose, there's a lot of them. The only ones that McCarthy Brown talks about are the ones that are associated with Mama Lola. That is the ones that she performs at, or she channels. She calls them writing her. But each voodoo priest or priestess, and this is how the book works, is she talks about one aspect of her life, and then she uses that as a jumping off point to talk about other things. And, she doesn't go super in depth about other priests and priestesses. For example, like I was going to say, she's got her own spirits. She selects certain ones from the voodoo religion that are the most relevant to her, and those are the ones that she channels, or the ones that write her. And each priest or priestess are different, and most of them are relevant to their personality. Like, for example, another one of her main spirits, Cousine. She's a market woman, and so Lourdes, she handles all her own transactions, all her own money. She's the head of the family. And so when she performs as Cousine, it's when she needs to address economic matters. And so different aspects of their lives are played out through these different roles, and each role allows them to consider a different aspect of it. So Ugu, the warrior, when she performs as him, she puts on all his stuff. He has a jacket that he wears, and he's got a sword, and he's got a ritual that he does. And he's got this whole cool thing associated with Haitian culture, where when Ugu comes, he has a sword, and he points it outwards. I forget exactly what it is. He points it out, and he shakes it, and then he takes the sword, and then he points it at you, and then he takes the sword and he points it at himself. And the idea is that it's representative of power. Power is commanding. You take power, and then power turns on you. You turn on your kinsmen when you take power, those allowed you to rise to power. And then finally, power, you turn on yourself. Power corrupts and power ultimately destroys. And that's actually like an allegory for the Haitian government. Because that's like the story of Haiti is a series of military coups that held false promises that ultimately corrupted. And Ugu is a drunkard as well. So in each one of these roles, not only do they represent certain aspects of existence or certain aspects of life, they also represent these dichotomies where every one of these spirits has two different sides. One of the Izili spirits, who are the female spirits, is Izili Danto. That's one of Alordis's main spirits, because Izili Danto is mother and the spirit of motherhood. But she can also be the spirit of lesbianism, because of one of her roles, I guess, as a nurturer of women. But Alorda, she doesn't act that part of it out because she's straight. And that's another thing, is because they're accepting of these dichotomies, they're also accepting of cognitive dissonance. So, yeah, even there's a great bit in here where Mama Lola, one of the women who raised her, her mother was actually rather distant, and she had a wet nurse when she was young. And this woman came to one of these rituals, and when she came, she took on a spirit of her own, and it was one of Mama Lola's spirits, Ugu. But when she did that, it was her interpretation of it, which was different than Mama Lola's. And when Mama Lola, in turn, addressed Ugu, she was not just addressing the spirit as her husband, she was also addressing it as her surrogate mother, the woman who raised her. And because of the way that voodoo works, because it accepts cognitive dissonance, she was allowed to do this. And so it's really interesting in that fashion because it's so misunderstood. Another thing about voodoo is in here, it says 85% of the practitioners are Catholic and the other 15 are Protestant. And they don't consider themselves voodoo practitioners first and Christians second, or vice versa. They're both. And if you ask them, they would tell you, yeah, they're good Christians. And there's a great bit in here where McCarthy Brown, she goes to church with another one of the voodoo priestesses, an elder, and the priest at the church in Haiti, where she was at the time, is railing about these voodoo practitioners and how they worship demons. And they get out of the church, and she asks her, she says, well, how do you finally, I'm sure she didn't ask her right away, but she works it up the courage to finally ask her, well, how do you deal with that? What do you feel about that? And the woman just goes, it's just the way priests talk. Because they don't worry about this. Because, honestly, the people of Haiti are too busy trying to survive. Their lives are so hard. Haiti was one of the poorest countries in the entire world. We maintained a trade blockade around it. A big part of this. I don't know if you guys know this. But look it up. Yeah. And so, the vast majority of nations are extremely disenfranchised. There's a very small percentage of people who control almost all the wealth. Much like here, but way, way worse. And so the few people that are left, they're left to fight over the scraps. And so voodoo is a way that disenfranchised members of the community, like Haitian women, for example, who are held in very low regard. Haiti is repeatedly described as a misogynist culture. Big surprise in an area of very little money. Those who have power use force to maintain it, and men use force in a lot of ways that I think, conservative or liberal Americans would find quite shocking, to maintain power over women. And it is societally accepted over there because there is no other way. You just simply survive, and that's that. And so voodoo is one way for women to be empowered in society, to maintain control over their lives and their environment. And just for them to deal with reality. It's really a philosophical interpretation and an interpretive system. And This is really, it's a book about feminism. It's from a feminist perspective. It's about a woman. There's very few female characters. It's about women and a role that they're very traditionally like invisible or they're villainized. And she's really just trying to show the other side of that. And I'm running out of time here. I'm already twice over my limit, but I just really thought it was an interesting read and just a great way of looking at something that is so well known, but it's so poorly understood and so misunderstood. But once from seeing from that perspective, like a lot of the things that we've read about this semester, it's really quite obvious where the mistake is made, and the other perspective becomes so clear. Anyway, that was it. That's my report. I don't know if I did it right or not, but I think I'm done now. So, yeah, I really enjoyed the class, and I really enjoyed reading this book, and yeah, I just wanted to say I learned a lot. Thank you very much.